SemeAD Interview, uma conversa com quem forma opinião na academia.
Let's try talking with Professor Martin.
Let's see if it works this time.
Hi, Martin. Can you hear me well now?
I can hear you very well now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Thank you very much. So
Good. Very sorry about before.
No, don't worry about that. So again, thanks very much for being here at SemeAD. And I was just asking is this your first time here in Brazil?
Right. I've never been to Brazil. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get an opportunity in the near future, which is a real shame because I'd love to be with you in person.
Well, I hope we can meet together soon. So, of course, I'm just joking because we are in a virtual conference right now. And so everybody is spread around the world, spread around Brazil. We do have a very great conference this year. We have more than 2,500 participants.
That's very good.
2,500 people are in this conference this year. And since last year, we decided to create what we called here SemeAD TV SemeAD. Okay. And this is what? We are broadcasting this signal, this transmission. And all the attendees in the conference, they have in their platform access to TV SemeAD. So the idea is, if you are tired of watching or taking part of a session and so on, and you like to relax a little bit, so you take a look at the SemeAD TV. Okay. And that SemeAD TV, we also have the chance to interview people like you that will have a speech. So people can look what's going on, what's going to be So this is the idea. We started that last year, and people really like that. And so I think tomorrow is going to be your speech, isn't it? Am I right?
That's right. Yes, I'm talking, I think, at about 12 o'clock your time, 1 o'clock your time tomorrow.
Yes, I think it's 1 p.m. São Paulo time. Yeah. 1 p.m. São Paulo time. That's probably 6 or 5 p.m. in UK where you are now, don't you?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's the end of the day for me, middle of the day for you.
Okay, so I heard about your work. I hadn't the chance to really read your work. Okay, but very nice, very interesting topic. You are focusing your research, your speech regarding the role of the business schools in our world. And so give us, please, a little, let me say, a little bit. What is your approach for your speech?
Yeah, a little taster for tomorrow. Yes. Yeah, I can do that. So as I've been working in schools of business and management in England for the last probably 25 years now, I think. And during that time, I've become more and more disappointed with the ways that business and management schools are thinking about questions of fairness and the climate crisis and inclusion and so on. And so I've written various things over the years which have been complaining about business schools. And we have a phrase in English, biting the hand that feeds you. So I've been gradually sort of complaining about the people who are paying my salary. And then a couple of years ago, I put all these together in a book called Shut Down the Business School, which was an attempt to think about how we might need to change the way in which we teach about organization and exchange in order to produce a low carbon, high inclusion, high democracy economy. The reason I'm concerned about that is because I think business schools are still teaching us about the economy of the past. I don't think they are seriously engaged with the kind of global challenges that we face. course, this may be true in Brazil. Maybe you've got many excellent examples of business schools that are doing fine and honourable things. But in large parts of the world, I think business schools are just teaching a very crude version of carbon-based capitalism, which is killing us. It's pretty simple now.
I do agree with you, and well, my area of research is stakeholder theory.
Okay. Yes.
And I remember, like a couple of years ago, I read about a survey, research by the Aspen Institute in US, and they look at about what the students just graduated in the undergrad, bachelors in business, think about what is the purpose of the firm, and the same thing they asked by people who were finishing the MBA. And they became, and this research showed a tremendous change, because when finishing the bachelor, people are thinking much more about inclusion, much more about the problems in the current world, about the climate. But when people finished the MBA, they were completely focused, in the shareholder return, in maximizing shareholder value, and so on. So I do agree with you, and I think I mean our community, our academy, we do have an important, let me say, role in changing that. We must change that. And how
absolutely.
And how do you think we can let me say fast this movement, Martin?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are many people who work within business schools, and many of our students too, who are profoundly worried about global inequality and the climate crisis and so on. My sense is that the dominant motivator for most business schools is effectively income measured by enrollments. And so whilst that's the case, they're still primarily motivated to be selling places on conventional business degrees. But I think that kind of misreads our students in a way. It kind of presents our students as if they were conservative and only interested in maximizing their own interests. When I speak to the students at the University of Bristol in England, where I work, many of them are very worried, but they just don't know what to do about it. They don't know, beyond recycling or going on a climate march or something. They don't know what they can do. And so I think it's our responsibility to really be talking about low carbon supply chains, about localization, about cooperative forms of organization, about the circular economy, all of the kind of the tools and techniques that are going to allow us to re-engineer a business system for tomorrow. But at the moment, we're still really teaching about the business systems of the past. There's far too much stuff which is essentially, taking ideas about capital markets or motivation or entrepreneurship or something, from the 1950s, from North America in the 1950s, and then reproducing that as if it were some kind of universal truth. And that is just so dangerous, so disappointing.
Yeah, we are behind, and we must be ahead of this movement. For instance, I remember last year at Davos last year, at World Economic Forum, there was the Davos Manifesto about the purpose of the corporation. They pointed, how important it is the corporation not only prioritize the interests of the shareholders, but they must attend the interest of all the stakeholders of the firm. And they pointed the idea of the stakeholder capitalism. And of course, due to the pandemic, because in the news, Davos last year was like February, something like that, or January, February. And just after Davos, the pandemic, the COVID pandemic really, exploded in the world, and in the news, the only thing we heard about was about the pandemic. So it didn't rebate so much. But this is like, for instance, the movement we have of the B Corps, the B corporations is spread out in the world. I remember 1219 in US. The CEO roundtable they have there, the CEO roundtable, they have over 200 CEOs of big companies in US sign a statement about the firm, proposing that the firm should look for all the stakeholders and not prioritizing the shareholder. So there is a move in the world. And the schools cannot be behind. They must be ahead of that move.
I think that's a really good way of expressing it. At the moment, I think we're seen to be a conservative force. There are something like 13,000 business schools on the planet, and most of them are teaching about an economy that we need to get away from. And that does effectively mean we're behind the movements. I mean, if you tell people that you work in a business school, I think they just assume that you're teaching greed. You're teaching some kind of immorality, but also effectively you're not interested in radical change or something. And I think the sheer influence of business schools globally now needs to be turned to educate people about the possibility of producing a new future. One of the very striking statistics for me when I was looking at this a couple of months ago was something like 1 in 7 students in the UK, in England, are studying some variant of business and management. And if you look at the UNESCO statistics on that globally, the figure rises to, and it's a little unclear, something like 1 in 5 or 1 in 4, depending on which nation you're looking at. So a huge number of students are studying this stuff. We really could be in a fantastic position to be teaching people about the future rather than the past, but we're just not taking that. We're not taking that opportunity.
And about the accreditation systems of business schools.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think they should have a role on that also, don't you think so?
I agree, absolutely. I mean, for a while, I've been very interested in the principles for responsible management education, the UN development. But the problem with that is it's a kind of a badge rather than an accreditation. And it's relatively easy for schools to sign up to that and then make certain kinds of claims about the sort of stuff they teach and research. The 3 big accreditations, AACSB, EQUIS, and AMBER, though they, in principle, allow for diversity, in practice, I think they encourage a kind of homogenization. They kind of make everything the same, because effectively what happens is that, and it's not just about that, it's also about ranking lists, isn't it? That we're all trying to be Harvard. There's a kind of concentration on a particular sort of model of what business schools might look like. And I think there's 2 important things there. One is that is entirely legitimate and indeed to be encouraged that you might get different sorts of business schools emerging in different kinds of states. Yeah. So, I wouldn't imagine that a Brazilian business school is going to be concerned necessarily with the same kinds of problems or issues or cultural questions as, say, an English business school. But the commonality is that we live on the same planet, and consequently we must be teaching about low carbon stuff. There really is no choice about that. So I think, if there was one big thing I could change, it would be to insist that all the accreditation agencies ensure that we're teaching about carbon reduction strategies in every single module, in every single business school, if they are to get accreditation. Because not to do that now is suicidal, really.
Okay. Well, fantastic topic. Okay, I'm sure about people who are watching us now. Okay, will be very interested in taking part of your speech tomorrow. So
I very much look forward to it. I'll try and upset as many people as possible.
Thank you very much. One more time, thank you very much for having this effort to take part here of SemeAD. So thank you very much, Professor
A pleasure.
Martin.
A pleasure. Thanks for the questions. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.